Good morning, good people, brothers, sisters, and beautifully defiant siblings in the movement. Welcome to the unapologetic voice of labor, equity, and action. This is CWA Our Power Radio Show, where we amplify the organizers, uplift the everyday workers, and honor the giants whose shoulders we stand on right here on KYOKradio.org in the heart of Houston, Texas. If you're rolling through H-Town or just fired up anywhere in the world, stream us live on KYOKradio.org, on the CWA Strong app, or catch the replay anytime by searching CWA Hour of Power on your favorite podcast platform. Because this space, this time, it's about us. That's right, it's about us. We're talking union contracts, organizing victories, labor rights, human dignity, fair pay, and bold everyday resistance to injustice in every form. So whether you're on the job, in your car, or your kitchen table, or deep in the fight, lean in, honk your horns if you stand with workers, throw a fist up if you know your worth. Joining me today are the fire starters and the truth tellers, Mikeya Jones, Timmia Wiley, Tay Akins. So buckle up, beloveds, because the power we build together, that power is ours. Let's get into it. Our union voices are ringing in every district from Alaska to Maine, Texas to Minnesota, Canada to Puerto Rico, because we don't play at CWA. Our union brothers, sisters, and siblings at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette have been outside for 2 years striking on the picket lines. And yet, while they're striking, they're still churning out the news with facts for you and me. Let's show our support to them by making sure we subscribe to unionprogress.com. Once you subscribe to this free publication, how about going over and donating to their strike fund at cwa.org/ppg donate. And I just heard someone shout, when we fight, we win. Now, family, before we dive into today's labor, human rights, and civil rights conversations, we want you to grab your tea and let's sip a while, because it's time for Tea with Tay. So today's flavor is reflections, and I can't wait till Tay Akins gives us more on this Tea with Tay. Good morning, Tay.
Good morning, Errol. Good morning, KYOK family, and to my unions, brothers, sisters, and siblings. Grab your mug, settle in, and let's sip a little tea on a story you might not have fully steeped into before. Today, we're spilling about Jon Stewart. Yes, the comedian, the late night host, the guy who made us laugh, but also an unexpected hero who became a voice for justice in times of crisis. Sometimes activism doesn't come in the way you expect. Sometimes it's not someone with a badge, a union card, or a law degree. Sometimes it's someone willing to stand up, speak up, and stir the pot until the system listens. That's the flavor of tea today. Let's set the stage. It's post 9/11. The world is reeling. First responders are sick. Thousands are waiting for health care, for compensation, for someone to recognize what they went through. Congress drags its feet. Lives are on the line. And here enters Jon Stewart, a comedian, not a politician, not a union organizer, not a firefighter, but he saw injustice and couldn't stay silent. He used his platform to demand Congress act. He stood with the families of the first responders and the responders themselves, bringing national attention to the Zandroga 9/11 Health and Compensation Act. He showed us that activism isn't about the uniform you wear, it's about the courage to raise your voice when the system ignores you. What's delicious about this tea? Stewart didn't have to get involved. He wasn't a first responder. He wasn't a lawyer. He wasn't even a part of the union. But he chose to leverage what he had, his visibility, his word, and his influence for justice. He became a bridge between ordinary citizens, unions, and government leaders. His activism was loud, public, and unapologetic. It reminds us all, you don't need to fit the mold to make a difference. Sometimes the people least expected to lead are the ones who shake the system awake. Now let's sip the strongest part of this tea. What does this mean for you? If Jon Stewart can pivot from comedy to activism, what's stopping you from stepping up in your own community, your workplace, and your union? Maybe it's writing a letter, attending a town hall, or starting a campaign, organizing your coworkers, or calling out injustice when you see it. Activism isn't always big. Sometimes it's just showing up, speaking the truth, and refusing to stay silent. And just like that, Stewart, when enough people do that together, systems change, laws get passed, and lives get saved. So here's the flavor to remember. Courage doesn't wear a uniform. Sometimes it wears a suit. Sometimes it wears a microphone. And sometimes it's just you deciding enough is enough. Let Jon Stewart's story sleep in your mind. Let it warm your spirit. And then go out there and be an unexpected activist your world needs. So, thank you, Jon Stewart. I'm going to go ahead and pass it back over to my brother Errol for our morning spotlight.
Now keep that flavor in your cup, reflections, because coming up next, I want to spotlight David Cole, a tireless advocate for civil liberties and a steadfast defender of constitutional rights. As a law professor and former national legal director of the American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU, Cole has been at the forefront of challenging government overreach, especially in the wake of September 11th attacks. Following 9/11, the so-called war on terror brought sweeping changes to U.S. law and policy, including the USA Patriot Act, which expanded government surveillance and created provisions that threatened fundamental freedoms. Cole recognized the dangers that these measures posed and courageously took legal action, challenging key components such as the material support provision, laws that could criminalize ordinary activities and associations. His work reminded us that liberty cannot be sacrificed for the security without risking the very principles that we claim to protect. So, beyond the courtroom, Cole has been prolific in writing and speaking about the erosions of civil liberties in the post 9/11 America. His scholarship has helped educate lawmakers, legal professionals, and the public about the delicate balance between security and freedom, highlighting the importance of due process, free speech, and equal protection under the law. David Cole's career exemplifies the intersection of law and activism by using his legal expertise to defend vulnerable communities and challenge overreaching government policies. He models the kind of principled advocacy that strengthens our democracy. His work is a powerful reminder to all of us, especially those of us in the labor and human rights movement, that standing up for justice often requires challenging power, even when it seems untouchable. As members of CWA, Communication Workers of America, we honor activists like David Cole, who fight for the rights of all people, reminding us that human rights, civil rights, and labor rights are interconnected. In a time when freedoms are tested, his example inspires us to remain vigilant, informed, and engaged in defending the rights of workers, citizens, and communities. You're listening to KYOK 1140 AM and the all-new 106.5 FM. If you're on the go, you can take us with you by visiting kyokradio.org and pressing the Listen Live option. Tune in live every Thursday morning at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific on kyokradio.org, the CWA Strong app, or your preferred podcast player, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Music, iHeartRadio, and Podchaser. Search for CWA Hour of Power on your favorite podcast player. Up next, we're going to have the awareness with Mikeya Jones this morning. Good morning, Mikeya.
Good morning, Aaron. Good morning, KYOK radio listeners. Blessed to be here with you this morning. Today, As we pause to remember September 11th, 2001, we honor not only the lives lost, but also the enduring legacy of those who fought for justice in its aftermath. Their stories remind us that the pursuit of human rights and dignity is a continuous journey, one that requires vigilance, compassion, and unwavering commitment. Following the attacks, thousands of first responders and survivors were exposed to toxic dust and debris. The aftermath of this exposure have been devastating. As of recent reports, nearly 48,600 individuals, primarily first responders, have been diagnosed with cancers linked to the 9/11 attacks, a staggering 143% increase over 5 years. Tragically, 3,767 members have died from cancer, including 2,388 first responders, exceeding the number of lives lost on the day of the actual attacks. These numbers underscore the urgent need for comprehensive health care and support for those who risk their lives for others. The James Adroga 9/11 Health and Compensation Act, named after NYPD officer James Adroga, who died from respiratory illness after working at Ground Zero, was enacted to provide medical monitoring and treatment for responders and survivors. This legislation serves as a testament to the power of advocacy and the importance of holding our government accountable to its citizens. While first responders face physical health challenges, entire communities grapple with civil rights violations. In the wake of 9/11, hate crimes against Muslims, Arabs, Sikhs, and South Asians surged dramatically. Anti-Muslim hate crimes, for instance, increased from 28 incidents in the year 2000 to 481 in the year 2001, a 17-fold rise. Similarly, hate crimes against people of Middle Eastern descent jumped from 354 in 2000 to 1,501 in 2001. These figures highlight the deep-seated prejudices that were exacerbated by fear and misinformation. Organizations like the Council on American Islamic Relations documented over 1,600 reports of discrimination, profiling, harassment, and assaults by early 2002, a threefold rise over the prior year. These incidents served as a stark reminder of the fragility of civil liberties and the need for constant vigilance to protect the rights of all individuals, regardless of their background. The response to 9/11 also illuminated the critical role of unions in advocating for workers' rights and safety. Unions were instrumental in securing health benefits and compensation for first responders and recovery workers. Their efforts led to the establishment of the World Trade Center Health Program, which provides medical care to those affected by the attacks. This spirit of solidarity extends beyond the workplace. Public figures such as comedian Jon Stewart used their platforms to advocate for the extension of the 9/11 Victim Compensation Fund, ensuring that those who suffered due to the attacks received the support they deserved. This cross-sector collaboration exemplifies the power of unity in the face of adversity. So as we reflect on the events of 9/11, let us remember the lessons it imparted, the importance of safeguarding human rights, the necessity of accessible health care, and the strength found in solidarity. The struggles faced by first responders affected communities and workers, and they continue to resonate today. Their resilience and advocacy inspire us to remain steadfast in our commitment and justice for equality for all. So before we move on, we're just going to take a moment of silence for all of those that were lost on 9/11 and those that were lost from the after effects of it. Back to you, Errol.
Thank you so much, Mikeya. You're listening to KYOK 1140 AM in the all new 106.5 FM. If you're on the go, you can take us with you by visiting kyokradio.org and pressing the listen live option. Tune in live every Thursday at 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific on kyokradio.org, the CWA Strong app, or your preferred podcast player, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Music, iHeartRadio, Podchaser, and Amazon Music. Up next, we're going to be talking about AI in healthcare and health equity. Good morning, Tay.
Hey now, Errol. Hey now, family. So you are tuned into Our Power Radio, where we lift up the connections between labor rights, civil rights, women's rights, LGBTQIA plus rights, and human rights. Today, we're talking about something that's moving fast and already changing our lives. Artificial intelligence, or AI, as some may call it. Some call it the fourth industry revolution, but the big question is, will AI move us toward healthy equity, or will it deepen the gaps we're already fighting?
And AI isn't science fiction anymore. It's here, and regardless of how we feel about it, it's here. Hospitals are using it to scan X-rays. It's here to predict who's at risk for heart attacks and even guide cancer treatment. But here's the problem, guys. If the data behind those tools is biased, the results also will be biased. And that means marginalized communities, Black, brown, rural, disabled, and LGBTQIA plus folks could face worse outcomes and not better.
And we've seen it already.
A 2019 study found that a hospital algorithm was less likely to refer Black patients for extra care, even when their medical records were just as serious as white patients. That wasn't a computer error, that was bias baked into the system.
And let me paint two pictures. In one case, AI helped a small rural hospital spot signs of a stroke in under 5 minutes. That speed made the difference between life and death for a patient. And that's the promise of this technology. But on the flip side, dermatology AI tools trained mostly on lighter skin tones have misdiagnosed conditions in darker skin patients. Imagine getting told your skin cancer is just a rash because the algorithm never learned from people who look like you. That's not just dangerous, that's deadly.
That's why this conversation matters, because the stakes are real and they're human.
You're absolutely correct. And healthcare workers know this better than anyone. The nurses, CMAs, respiratory therapists, the lab staff, they're the ones that are on the front lines. And if AI is dropped in without training, here we go right here. I feel that we're going to go down a rabbit hole on this one, but I think it's very well worth it. If AI is dropped in without training, without transparency or worker protections, it can put patients into risk or at risk and be used to justify cutting jobs.
And it's not just in healthcare, y'all. It just ain't healthcare. AI is already being used in hiring, when it comes to scanning resumes, scoring interviews, even flagging who's fit to be hired. We've already seen studies where these tools weed out women, people of color, older workers. It'll weed out people based on zip codes. And that's why, and I'm going to say it, we've been saying it, we're going to say it again. That's why unions like ours are so important. We're the guardrail to make sure technology helps people, not replaces. It doesn't exclude. It doesn't exploit people. It levels the playing field for everybody.
Yes. So let's shake some things up here. Let's learn something. I got some quick statements for y'all. And you tell me myth or fact.
And this is for
AI,
all of us now. Is
this
this
is
for
for
all of
all of
us,
us,
Tay? Okay, all right,
all of us. So tell
all right.
me, is AI is unbiased?
That's a myth. AI reflects um, data that it's trained on. And if that data is unequal, I believe that the outcomes will also be unequal.
All right. And you are correct, Errol. So is AI, will AI replace all healthcare workers?
So that's a myth. Like AI can assist, but it can't replace human judgment. It can't replace compassion or experience. The danger is if employers use AI as an excuse to cut corners. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I've watched all the healthcare shows over the ages, and I'll take a Dr. House over a computer any day.
Me as well, and that is correct. So AI is already making healthcare more affordable for everyone.
Myth. Right now, all tools are expensive. AI tools are expensive, often only available in big hospitals or wealthy areas. Without equity built in, the gap could widen.
All right, exactly. And guess what? Myths busted. Back
Mm.
to
So let's talk about it. Let's talk about this then, because I know we can really get into it. Because I wish Reginald was here where we could talk about how we used to go, or how we're now going into the drugstores and the big box stores, and we're putting we're scanning our groceries and everything now, because old school says this is going to take our jobs. Union says this is going to take individuals' jobs. And let's just go leave that alone. Okay, let's talk about who's going to be left behind. I think maternal health care is going to be one example. We're already having problems in the healthcare industry with Black women that are 3 times more likely to die from pregnancy related issues or causes than white women. So if AI is designed without addressing that reality, to me, it won't solve the crisis. It'll just ignore it even the more.
It will, and the same with mental health. AI chatbots are being tested to help with depression and anxiety. Okay, y'all, let's make that make sense. But are they safe for LGBTQIA plus youth? Are they accessible for people in rural communities with low internet access? Those are the questions equity demands.
And let's not forget rural urban communities and hospitals. They're closing at alarming rates. Over 150 have shut down since 2010. If AI is rolled out in urban centers first, rural families get left behind again. Equity has to mean everyone.
Correct.
all right, and let's get into it. This isn't just a America issue. In Africa, AI tools are being tested to predict a malaria outbreaks. That could save thousands of lives. But it also shows us AI is global. And just like climate change, workers and communities worldwide are connected in the struggle. Equity here means equity everywhere.
And I know it sounds like it's doom and gloom, but let's also share the good news. We don't just have to sit on the sidelines and watch this happen. We can learn, organize, and take action.
That's why CWA District 4, big shout out and kudos to them, is hosting
Yes.
a special presentation. For those of you who don't know, when we say District 4, that's almost as a little chunk of the Midwest of the country. But they're hosting a special presentation, and it's called What is AI Part 1. That'll be held on September the 25th. This is your chance to understand the basics as taught and ask tough questions and be a part of shaping how we fight for equity in this new era.
So go visit our human rights social media pages for the links. It's CWA Human Rights on Facebook and on Instagram at CWA National Human Rights to sign up. Mark your calendars for September 25th. Do not miss it.
Family, the rise of AI doesn't have to mean the rise of inequality. It can mean the rise of justice if we fight for it. And that's what this show is about. This is our power radio. Stay tuned, stay strong, and remember, freedom is freedom is a consistent and constant fight for your rights.
You're absolutely correct. I wonder who said that. We want to give a great big shout out to Cindy, who has tuned in this morning. I've gotten a text message from all over from District 4. They're listening, they're tuning in and saying thank you for giving the shout out. And she even asked, could she come on the radio? So we're going to be hearing from Cindy K in the future. So District 4, thank you for that great upcoming What is AI All About? In District 4, those part 1 and part 2. I know it is going to be great information to our listeners. You're listening to KYOK 1140 AM and the all-new 106.5 FM. If you're on the go, you can take us with you by visiting kyokradio.org and pressing the listen live option. Tune in live every Thursday at 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific on kyokradio.org, the CWA Strong app, or your preferred podcast player. Well, guess what? We still have to have Union 101, and we're on part 7. Even though Reginald is somewhere, I don't know if he's taking a mental break or he's somewhere in Paris saying oui. But we've still got to have Union 101 part 7. And we're going to be talking about first contracts, turning a union into real power. So we've been walking together through this Union 101 series, and from what a union is to your rights to how we fight back against union busting. But today we hit a major milestone, and we're talking about Union 101 Part 7, first contracts, turning a union into real power. So let's be clear. Winning your union election is only step 1. That's like getting the keys to the house, but the first contract, that's when you move in, set the rules, and build a home that protects everybody that's inside. And I hope you get that. I hope you get that. We're setting the groundwork now. All right, come on, Tay.
So what is a first contract? It's the first legally binding agreement between you and your employer, covering wages, benefits, job security, health and safety, and fairness at work. It's where all those promises, all those dreams of a better working conditions become black and white guarantees. So how do we get there? First, the members, that's you, come together to decide priorities. Do we want higher wages, safer staffing levels, stronger healthcare benefits? The next thing, then a bargaining committee made up of workers, not outsiders, sits across the table for management to negotiate. And here's the key. Every proposal that goes on the table comes from the workers themselves. That's democracy in action.
All right, let's talk reality. Y'all know I like a little reality check. Studies show that first contracts can raise wages by 11 to 15% on average. Workers who win strong first contracts are more likely to stay in their jobs, reducing turnover and strengthening communities. And here's the kicker. Once the first contract is in place, it's illegal for management to just change the rules on a whim. That's the power of a union in writing.
But we've got to be ready, right? We always got to be prepared. Bosses don't just roll over and agree to a fair first contract. So there's some delay, some stall, some hope workers give up. But that's why unity is everything. We have to stay informed. We have to attend our meetings. We have to stand strong together. And that's how we force the company to bargain in good faith. The first contract is where your union becomes more than a vote. It becomes a living, breathing agreement that protects you, your coworkers, and your families. It's where power moves from a dream to reality.
Hey, Timmia, what about giving some of those good benefits, from companies that try to entice the breaking?
They can keep those benefits, because if they can afford to give you those benefits because the union is coming into town, they can give you a whole lot more. Think about that. They only want to give you something because if they only want to all of a sudden give you something because you're speaking of a union, that to me is a bad practice. And I want to use some other words, but I'm on the radio and I can't use other words. What kind of behavior that is. But just read between the lines. You're worth a whole lot more, and they know that. And so they're gonna dangle a carrot instead of giving you the whole crop of carrots that you deserve.
They will even give you, I think we learned last week that there was a company that even gave what was that, whiskey to the workers, to
Yes.
deter them? Yes,
Yes.
yes. So
Hmm.
Union 101 Part 7 first contracts turning a union into real power. Family, let me tell you, once you win that first contract, you don't just have a union, you have protection. You've got dignity and you've got a voice that cannot be ignored. Don't take the union lightly. Don't take your first contract lightly. I want you to understand the power, the collective power that you have when you have your first contract. That means you have the power. It's collective power. Now, next week, we're going to turn up the heat just a little bit more. Union 101 Part 8 is coming up next week. And it's going to be focusing in on solidarity in action when we deal with strikes and the boycotts and collective power. Because sometimes when the companies, the bosses, the managers won't listen, the workers have to speak in the only language corporation understand, and that is collective action. And let me tell you, the company is not going to just give you what you want until you have some worker power. Because we understand over here at CWA that when we fight, guys, we what? We win.
Amen.
So stay with us. This is our power. You're listening to KYOK 1140 AM and the all-new 106.5 FM. If you're on the go, you can take us with you by visiting kyokradio.org and pressing the Listen Live option. Tune in live every Thursday morning, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific on kyokradio.org, the CWA Strong app, or your preferred podcast player. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Music, iHeartRadio, and Pod Chaser. Oh, and I've got to also keep calling out Amazon Music. We're on them as well. Up next, we're going to be talking about the Union Buster of the Week with Timmia Wiley.
Good morning, KYOK listeners. This week's Union Buster of the Week goes to none other than Camden County, New Jersey. Why, you may ask? Because while public safety telecommunicators, the folks who answer our 911 calls in the worst moments of our lives, are holding the line for the public, the county has been shortchanging women, people of color, and veterans on their paychecks. Shame on them. CWA Local 1014, representing over 1,600 public service employees, including 150 dispatchers, just filed a lawsuit under the New Jersey Diane B. Allen Equal Pay Act. The county has been caught paying women and minority workers $5,000 to $12,000 less than their co-workers for the same exact job. That adds up to more than $10.5 million in lost wages, and that's money stolen straight from working families. Now, let me just dive into that. It's not, yeah, it's money stolen, but think about that money, how it can go into a 401k and the interest that it could earn on a 401k, or a house that somebody could have purchased. And when you purchase a house, you have equities being built up in that house. So it's not, it is about the money, but think about the equity and the earned interest that people are losing, and the compound, all of that people lose when you don't pay them correctly. So let's be clear when I say it's not just about paychecks. When dispatchers are underpaid and underworked, staffing shortages grow worse. Right now, Camden County is short at least 14 dispatchers, and that piles extra hours and stress onto those who remain. That means slower response times, exhausted workers, and communities put at risk, all while the county just shrugs its shoulders and says, oh, well, get to work. One dispatcher, Christopher Pritchett Lewis, said it best. We're speaking with people at literally some of the worst moments of their lives. This job requires calm and patience and care, but we're buckling under longer shifts, all while knowing we're being underpaid. It's too much. And instead of fixing the problem, Camden County tries to buy silence with a one-time payout offer. That's not accountability, that's hush money. The workers backed by CWA said no deal, and I'm with them. No deal. Here's the union truth. Equal pay for equal work. It's not a suggestion. It's the law, and we're standing 10 toes down on it. And when employers, public or private, refuse to follow it, we fight back together. So Camden County, congratulations. You've earned your spot as Union Buster of the Week because you, Camden County, you exploit workers who protect and serve their communities. You're not just breaking the law, you're breaking trust. You're breaking down generational wealth. You're breaking down communities. And the labor movement will not let that stand. Solidarity forever. This has been your Union Buster of the Week. Back to you, Errol.
You're listening to KYOK 1140 AM at the all-new 106.5 FM. If you're on the go, you can take us with you by visiting kyokradio.org and pressing the Listen Live option. Tune in live every Thursday at 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific on kyokradio.org, the CWA Strong app, or your preferred podcast player. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Music, iHeartRadio, Podchaser, or Amazon Music. Search for CWA Hour of Power on your favorite podcast player. Up next, we're going to go ahead and start talking about the importance of voting in local elections. I think all of us are invested in this part right here because we know we have elections coming up in all of our cities, all of our states, and even national elections on next year. So there's no specific or perfect time to talk about voting. Every opportunity we get, every time we get an opportunity to speak about voting and your rights, this is the time. That is the time. And so we're going to be talking about voting today, and we're diving into one truth that's been on my heart. One thing for sure is this: you need to make sure you vote in your local elections. Let me say that one more time because it's in my heart. You need to make sure that you vote in your local election. And here's the thing: if we control our local elections, we don't have to spend our lives shielding ourselves from whosoever, whatsoever is sitting up in Washington, D.C. Because while the national headlines can grab our attention, listen to me, guys. While the national headlines grab our attention, it's the local ballots that shape our everyday lives. And that's what we've got to get in the spirits of people all around the country. It's your local laws that you really need to pay more closer attention to. And Mikeya, let me throw it out to you first. Why do local elections matter so much to you?
Okay, so for me, it's about our kids. And I know you guys hear me talk about kids and how we need to protect them and respect them, but it's really about our kids for me. School board elections decide what's taught in the classrooms, how teachers are paid, whether our schools have resources, whether your kids get lunch or not, whether there's a nurse in the school or not. And people get fired up about DC, but a handful of votes in a local school board race can determine if your kid gets a laptop or if the teacher gets laid off. And that's real.
And Timmia, I see you want to jump in, but can I say this right here? It even determines your SROs in a school.
It does. And I'm going to build on that. Local councils make the calls on housing, zoning, and neighborhood investments. If you've ever wondered why some areas get grocery stores while others are stuck with liquor stores and payday loans, that's often a city council decision. Local elections decide whether we get affordable housing or luxury condos we can't afford.
And before you get in there, Tay, because I already see you are already just ready to jump in there. But can I talk about something that's close to home with me on this right here? Y'all gonna help me out? One of the
Well,
things
we're not going to tell you no.
one of the things that that is grinding my gears right now in my own city is I moved into a neighborhood. I bought a home, or we bought a home in a neighborhood that's basically a retirement neighborhood. Well, I should say workers are retired. They made beautiful homes and different things like that. So when I moved from downtown out of my condo and bought this home, I only moved over here because of what was told to me, because, or I should say, from the local officials, that this area would become up and coming. We would get grocery stores, different things of that nature, and that would make me, come back over to the west side. I grew up on the west side. West side is always going to be the best side for me. But when I had officials telling me one thing, but then they also did another, I have a problem with that. And that's where I am now. Because in this area uh, where I live, there are over 99,000 individuals in this area. And out of this area, it used to be where we had our own malls. We had the anchor stores. We had a Krispy Kreme, if y'all don't mind me saying. This was the prime. And I know this was like 40, 50 years ago, but it has gone down. And this side of the town, and it's called Five Points West, it used to be the premier area for everybody to shop. And now, because the city has not invested in it over the years and the lies keep being told over and over, there's a lot of disinvestment. And so it's not here anymore. And so one of the reports that came out, I guess, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, was that this side of town has an average income of $35,000, and I think that is a lot of crap. All right, I'll stop. I see y'all want to jump in. Okay, go ahead.
So I just want to say, when we're talking about voting and our midterm elections and the importance for the young people, this is where your journey starts. Too often we feel like our votes don't matter in the big elections, but local races, sometimes won by just a few hundred votes, show that every ballot counts. Local elections are where first-time voters can see the impact of their voice the fastest.
Exactly. Exactly. The local elections are where it, I
Where it
guess I
is.
can't say where it's at, where it
Where
is,
it's
where it's
at,
at.
where it is, where it is. And it's and unfortunately, from all the door knocking that I have done in the past for the past elections, the people that I have encountered um who need the most to vote don't, or
Mhm.
are the least educated on why they need to vote, or where. Can I just be real transparent?
Come on with it.
A lot of people who are the most affected by what's going on in the local community aren't educated on why it's important, or even what's going on. And so a lot of things are passed and it goes past them without them having any say so, or them even knowing. So they don't even know that they can vote for a better neighborhood or
And I
a
Hmm.
and
better
I have
environment.
and I gotta jump on in here because you know what? It's designed that way. And I just
Oh,
have to say
absolutely.
it's designed
Absolutely.
that way. If
That's
they
just,
they don't send you any notices, or you know what I mean, we get
oh,
notification.
I
You'll get a
know.
notification about a pipe burst, and they'll send you an email. If they cutting down trees in the area, they'll let you know. But an election,
Oh, I know it. And
only
that's what they
nothing
want. They
I
want
will.
you to
That's
be
a good
ignorant.
point too.
They want you to be ignorant. That's just prime example. There was a vote that went out about education, about the school system. They just pulled funding. Let me make it real plain. My daughter is a cheerleader at a school here in Guilford County. I'm in North Carolina. And they have a free and reduced lunch program. And so the kids get free and reduced lunch. Well, there's after school, there are after school programs like football, cheer. So they have the games on Friday nights. Well, the kids stay after school. There used to be a meal program for them so that they could eat before the game. Now there is no meal program for them to eat before the game. So parents like myself, we're scrambling to feed these team, the football team and the cheer squad, so that they can have something to eat. Now the communities, a lot of parents didn't vote, didn't know to vote, didn't know this was up for vote. So, but here we are, and the money's gone, and it's going to be a while before we could get that money back, and it's just very unfortunate.
And what really vexes my spirit about stuff like this, because I know, we have a few other things to talk about, but what really the fact that we pay more taxes. Let me just be honest. You pay more taxes, right? To live in certain school districts. And if there's a school in your area, you pay higher taxes than ones that are not. So I'm paying higher taxes because there is a school around here. Whether my child goes to that school or not is irrelevant to me. But I pay higher taxes because the school is there. However, you kids still they're gonna be there literally from the morning to the afternoon. And the fact that people have to pay for them to eat is insane to me, because if that's the case, I can feed my kid at home, but you can't keep your kid at home, right? Because it's illegal to do so. So it's like the way that this is designed and the way that this is controlled, it like vexes my spirit to a whole nother level, because they don't tell you, like you said, we don't get any notices about these school board meetings or, or elections or votes and things like that. But we have to pay higher taxes because we live in a school district, and we have to send our kids to school, but we don't have to feed them.
Hmm.
That's it. And there's a lot of people, you don't know what you don't know, but when you do know, you need to tell somebody,
Okay, say that
Hmm.
again.
you
And
know?
we could even get into about the inequity, because there are schools around us that aren't able to feed the football team or the cheerleaders, but then there are schools that get a well-known restaurant to cater in their food. So let's talk about that as well. It's some inequity going around.
Inequity ain't the word I'm looking for. It's very it's unfortunate. It's unequitable, because the same schools that can afford to have a restaurant come in and cater are the schools who don't need to have a restaurant come in and cater.
Hmm.
If you catch my drift.
I got you, Mikeya.
I don't know. I'm, high key stressing out over here because I pay for my son's lunch. His school
Right.
I do
doesn't offer
too.
free breakfast or free lunch. They never have. I've had to feed him 2 meals a day while he's at school, plus snacks every day since he started school. And I also, bring extra snacks and things to school because he's come home and he's told me that there are kids at school that don't have snacks. And what really hurts my heart is not just the fact that there's kids that come to school that don't have snacks because obviously their parents can't afford them, but then it falls on the teacher who also can't afford it based on the salary that that was voted for by the school board and things like that. So now the teacher is, sending home, notes or telling the kid like, hey, tell your mom she's gonna have to send something in, or your dad or your grandma or whoever, they're gonna have to send something in because I'm running out of snacks. And that is horrifying
It's
to me
especially
for
on a
it's
teacher's
embarrassing.
salary.
But
It
the whole situation is embarrassing. It leads to, different, it's exhausting. Like I could not fathom being a child, and you're a child and you again you have to go to school, and then you don't have. And I mean, if they don't have school supplies, if they don't have food or snacks, if they don't have, you know, nowadays kids have to have, and that's the thing too. I don't remember this from being younger, but they have to have their own everything. You have to have your own
no
headphones for when you go to computer
pic,
class. You got to have your own water bottle.
you
There's so
know,
many.
picture this. And I had this because I had, I come out of education. My first job out of undergrad was teaching. Picture this. In order to get free or reduced lunch, your parents have to apply for it. Picture this. Everybody's parents aren't hands-on enough to even fill out the application. So you can't even get free and reduced lunch because your parents haven't filled out the application. You don't have enough money to eat lunch. The school won't, you've run up a balance, so the school won't give you food. Then what?
And then they won't give you, they won't let at my little brother's school, if you owe any balance to the school, they will not allow you to
Let
take your
you
final
eat.
test. No, they won't allow you to take your final
Oh,
test. Not only are you
okay.
hungry, you can't take your final test, which puts you at risk of having to repeat a year.
So I have strong opinion when it comes to feeding our kids, and the education system altogether. The teachers are the most valuable people, and we have to protect them and keep fighting for them to have better wages. But
You're
also,
absolutely correct.
we need to demand that our children are treated like children. We talk about children growing up so fast, and it's because of things like that. Mikeya, what you're talking about, a child who realizes maybe I should start collecting some change so I can have some school lunch money. How is that fair? Focus on
Mm.
getting to the playground, baby. Focus on the new books that are coming and to the school folk. And they have these things like the book fair. I used to joke so much when I was young because my mom was a single mom. I used to joke so much when I was young. When it's time for my kids to go to the book fair, I'm definitely sending $100 bill. Like that was my little joke. But I make sure when my kids go to the book fair now, they have something to donate to another child. Like those are
Hmm.
the things that when you grow up, you have to think about. When you talk about meals in school, why is this even a discussion at the board? Us as humans should know that you have to eat to function. How do you get an education if your stomach is growling? How do you focus if you have a headache because you don't have certain things? And like you said, my kid, it is embarrassing for a parent to get a note to say, well, every day your child is the only one who doesn't have a snack. And you know, the reality is I'm trying to make it at home. So I have a strong opinion about our kids' meal programs and things like that. And I think we should be fighting really hard with other programs, other constituency groups, getting into the school board, and yeah, educating parents who may not know what's going on, challenging them to know what's going on. Hey, does your kid get reduced lunch? Or you know this is going to happen, but sometimes we don't do that either. So we all have a responsibility, and the responsibility is to make sure that we come together and do what we need to do for the kids and the teachers.
I think we've all given some real world examples here this morning, um, because it's very important. And these local laws. And I guess I need to jump. We need to jump back into getting why it's very important to vote in our local election is because even looking at the books that our children are able to read, that is determined by people that you vote, that you vote in to these various school system, into the local boards and everything. And then Timmy, I think even our county commissions, they control the funding for public hospitals and public transportation and safety. Come on, Mikeya.
Yeah, because you know that that whole book ban thing stresses me out too. And I try this. I'm gonna have to go practice some of those mental health things I tell y'all about all the time. Because as an avid book reader, like a real live a book person, I read every single day. I have a book club with my son, and the fact that the place where you go to learn is telling you that you can only learn certain things based on somebody's personal views is insane to me. You're supposed to be educated overall as a whole. Like you're supposed to go to school for like when you're in elementary school and primary school and things like that, you're supposed to learn general knowledge, general studies, right? To help you move throughout the world. You're gonna form your own views as you grow and as you become an adult and as as things affect you and it changes you and it molds you into who you are. That's gonna happen naturally. My son and I'm speaking personally here. My son should not only be able to read books that Joe Adams decides that he wants him to read. That is insane to me.
Mhm. And
I
these
should not have
are
to.
go
Now,
ahead,
I do
Mikeya.
believe that education starts at home, right? I do believe that. But I
Hmm.
should not have to reteach my son what he's learning in school. Like I don't have to reteach math, right? That's Common Core. I don't have to reteach that, but I do have to reteach history. And I don't think that that's appropriate.
Mm.
I don't think that he should
And,
have to learn and unlearn certain things that he's literally made to sit and withstand for all of these hours. Now, yes, again, education does start at home, and we are supposed to tell our kids truth. And, I give I give him all the insight and the knowledge that I possibly can as his mother. You know what I mean? But why am I sending my son to school to only get the information or skewed and rose, read information under rose-colored glasses?
and all of these decisions affect us at home, at the kitchen table, our families, our paycheck. So let's do this. Let's dig into this just for a minute or so. How this ties directly into union power. I'm sorry.
Well, when local governments pass right to work policies, that hurts unions directly. It strips away worker protections and lower wages. And it doesn't only lower wages for union workers, it lowers wages for all workers, and it keeps everything stagnant, and it keeps the 1% at the 1% and the rest of us where they want us to be.
It does. And then on the other side of that, when you have unions and in the workplace, you also have a voice when it comes to being able to endorse candidates who are worker friendly. And you're able to come together and get the word out on who to vote for, who are candidates on, and who is for the issues that are going to affect you and your children. So that's just my 2 cents. But having a union it changes so many things. It changes so many things and it opens so many avenues, and it makes the playing field smaller for community, for the working class person to be able to be in the know of what politician, what works for you, what's working, because it gives you a voice. We don't have PAC funding money, but we have numbers, we have voting power, and we can get behind candidates. We can put candidates in office that are going to vote in our interest, which would change the tide for a lot of things that involve the working class people.
Arrow, I mean, I see you going in over there,
He's
but
talking, but you're on mute.
I am so sorry. I was going in over here. Um, I want everyone to I want to ask everyone this question because we get it all the time. Why does my vote matter if turnout is always low in my area? And I want you just to think about that. But this is where I want to go with this because we're at the top of the hour almost, and we've got to sign off. Here's where the rubber meets the road. If your vote, if you feel that your vote does not matter, let me tell you something. It matters. You can lose an election by one vote. You can win an election by one vote. And so this is what I want you to do. I want you to make sure, if you're listening right now to me, check your registration status and make sure you know the next time an election date is in your area, and you take the initiative to go vote and take someone else with you as well. Anybody else got anything to say before I close this out? Because I really
yeah,
want to
I
go
literally, I
further.
literally just updated mine. When I got my new license, I updated mine to make sure everything was right, and make sure that not only you're still registered, make sure that if you move or anything like that, you get that all updated and changed, because what they love to do is send you away because your vote is that important. So make sure not only that you're registered, but you have the proper address, that you're going to the proper precinct and all of that to vote in. Because the worst thing that can happen is for you to not know where you're supposed to vote or go to the wrong place to vote on election day and you're registered. And like
All
Timmy
right,
always says,
guys.
bring someone with you.
That's right. Take someone with you. Thank you guys for tuning in today. An hour is not long enough to be with you, and a week is too long to be away from you. You have been tuned into the CWA Human Rights Hour Power broadcast. I hope something you heard today has inspired you to take action toward creating positive change in the world. Every person has the power to make a difference, no matter how small. And by working together, we can create a world where human rights are respected and valued. So I encourage each of you in the listening audience to reflect on your role in promoting human rights, the effort to effect change in your communities and beyond. Know that you're not alone in your quest for a more just and equitable world. When faced with injustice, it can be easy to lose hope and give up. But remember, justice may be slow like the truth, but when it finally comes, it will stand. Until next Thursday, 10 a.m. Central, right here on KYOK 1140 a.m. and the all-new 106.5 FM, KYOKradio.org. See you next week.